Hello, my little mathematicians. Today, I'm going to help you change a fraction to a decimal. All right, you ready for this? Okay, what always works is you take the numerator, the top number, and divide it by the denominator. Okay, and so that means, remember, in and out. Okay, like the hamburger place, in and out, in and out. That's what a hamburger is all about. This goes inside the house, and that number goes outside the house. So how many times can 10 go into 7? It can't. So I add a decimal and a 0. So now I don't have, do you understand that 7.0 is the same thing as just 7, right? But now I can actually divide 10 into 70. Okay, well, how many times does 10 go into 70? It goes in 7 times. 10 times 7 is 70. It went in evenly. I'm done. So 7/10 is the same thing as 0.7. Okay, for this one, same thing. Again, in and out. Top number goes inside the house. Bottom number goes outside the house. Can 4 go into 3? No, it can't. So it goes in 0 times, and then I'm going to add a decimal and a 0. 4 can't go into 3, but it can go into 30. And the way that this works, yes, I added a 0, but do you understand that because I put that decimal there, 3.0 is the same as just 3, right? But now that I have that decimal, I can divide 4 into 30. Well, 4 goes into 30 7 times, because 7 times 4 is 28. Subtract that, you get 2, and it can't go in. So now after the decimal, you can add as many zeros as you want. Okay, 4 goes into 20 5 times. 4 times 5 is 20. When you subtract that, you get 0. It went in evenly, so now I'm done. It's 0.75. If for some reason you find a number that doesn't end and it keeps going, always look up at the directions, and it tells you round to 3 decimal places if necessary. So if it goes past 3, then you might want to look up, and you probably have to round it off. Okay, now, as I said, dividing the numerator by the denominator always works. But if I can make the denominator become 10 or 100, I can just read this as 7/10, which is 0.7, right? 4 can't become 10, but 4 can become 100. If you can make it become 10, 100, or 1,000, some power of 10, then I can do that shortcut of jumping straight from a fraction to a decimal and not have to do long division. Well, 4 times what is 100? 25. So do the same thing up here. 3 times 25 is 75. So you have 75 hundredths, which is 0.75. So yes, this is a lot simpler. And when it works, if you have a denominator that can become 10, 100, or 1,000, please do it this way. Okay, just show me what you multiplied by to get that power of 10, and what you did the same thing on top. And then I know that 75 hundredths is the same thing as 0.75. So you wouldn't have to do the long division. But if this is confusing, you can just do long division. It always works. And sometimes we have a denominator where you have to do long division anyways. You can't do the shortcut because 6 can't become 10 or 100 or 1,000. Even if I were to reduce this to 1/3, it still can't become 10, 100, or 1,000. So I'm going to have to resort to 2 divided by 6. And yes, you could reduce it first if you wanted to, but remember that's room for error, because in case you reduce it wrong, now you're doing the wrong division. But yes, you can. Okay, 6 can't go into 2, so I'm going to add a decimal and a 0. Now 6 can go into 20, not twice. Okay, and actually, you know what? I'm going to make this mistake. Okay, 6 times 2 is 12. And when I subtract that, I get 8. You cannot have a remainder that's bigger than what you divided by. If you have a remainder that's bigger than what you divided by, you didn't choose a big enough number. So it's not actually 2, it's 3. And 3 times 6 is 18. And when I subtract that, I get 2. So, this remainder is smaller than that. I'm good. I can keep going and bring down the next number. Okay. Always double check for that though, that instead of keep going, make sure that this remainder is smaller than that, because otherwise you did something wrong and you can't do that. Okay. 6 goes into 20 3 times. Subtract that, you get 2. Okay. Bring down the 0. 6 goes into 20 3 times. Are you noticing something here? I bring down the 0. Hey, this is just going to keep repeating, right? So since it's 0.33333, it's going to keep happening. I could just write it like this. If there was no directions, I would just say 0.3. But because they said round to 3 places, that's right here, right? Well, I know the next number is going to be a 3, 3. It's going to keep going. So always look at the number behind the one you're focusing on. They said round to 3 places. If the number behind the one you're focusing on is 4 or below, then this number is going to stay the same. If the number behind it is 5 or above, it's going to bump this one up 1. Okay, there's no such thing as bumping down. It's either if this number is a 4, a 3, a 2, or a 1, or a 0, this would stay a 3. If this number is a 5, a 6, a 7, an 8, or a 9, this will bump up to a 4. So where does it stay at? It stays at a 3, right? Because this says stay the same. So since it told me to round to 3 places, it's 0.333. Okay. If it didn't say to round, I could write it like that, and that lets the person reading it know that it's 0.3 repeating. All right, let's do 9 into 4. Remember, in and out, inside the house, outside the house. Okay, 9 can't go into 4, so I'm going to add a decimal and a 0. 9 goes into 40, though, 4 times. 9 times 4 is 36. Subtract that, you get 4, less than what I divided by, so I'm good to keep going. 9 goes into 40 4 times. That's 36. Subtract, I get 4. Keep going. Hey, are you noticing something with this one too? Yeah, we are, huh? So this one, actually, if I kept going, okay, it's going to keep being 4 for forever. But it rounded off to the 3rd place. So this 4 tells this guy to stay the same because it didn't fall into the 5 or above category, right? So it's going to be 0.444 because they told me to round it to 3 places. Again, if they didn't, I could have just written it as 0.4 repeating. That line up on top means it's repeating. Okay, next one. If you haven't tried one yourself, why not try this one? Okay, 13 can't go into 6, so you add a decimal and a 0. 13 goes into 60 how many times? What do you think? Okay, well, 13 times 5 is 65, so let's try times 4. That's 12. 4 plus 1 is 52. Subtract that, I get 8. That's less than what I divided by, so I'm good to keep going. Okay, 13 goes into 80. Let's try times 7. And 91 is too big, so let's try times 6. 78 works. Okay, so I multiplied 13 times 6 to get that one. Okay, when I subtract that, I get 2. Bring down another 0. 13 goes into 20 once. Subtract that, I get 7. Okay, well, when I multiplied by 6, I got 78, so it has to be smaller. Let's try times 5. We actually know that that's 65. So I get 5, and I could keep going and bring down to 0 and see how many times 13 goes into 50. However, they said that they want us to round off to the 3rd place, right, if needed. So I'm going to focus on the 3rd number. So it's 0.46, and then you look to the number behind it, and if it's 4 or below, this will stay 1. If it's 5 or above, this bumps up. So what is it? Yeah, it fell into the 5 or above category, so that's going to bump up to a 2. All right, last one. Again, if you haven't tried any yourself, please pause it, try it, and then come back and join us. All right, can 8 go into 7? No, so add a decimal and a 0. Okay, if you accidentally wrote them the wrong way and you had 8 divided by 7, pause it, erase it, try it again. Okay, now you're back with us. How many times does 8 go into 70? What do you think? Okay, well, 8 times 9 is too big, so 8 times 8 is 64. Subtract that, I get 6. Bring down to 0. 8 goes into 60 7 times, because that's 56. When you subtract that, you get 4. Bring down to 0, and 8 goes into 40 5 times. All right, so it went in perfectly, beautifully, 0.875. All right, and that is how you change a fraction to a decimal. You take the numerator, divide it by the denominator. That's actually what a fraction is saying. It's saying top divided by the bottom. So remember, in and out, inside the house, outside the house. And if you can do that shortcut where you can change a denominator to a power of 10, great, do that. Just show me how you did it. And then I'm fine with you jumping straight from 7,500 to 0.75. But as we pointed out, sometimes you have a denominator that doesn't work. So then you're going to have to do long division. All right. Hopefully you are a little bit more comfortable at changing fractions to decimals.